Hi, and welcome back to Aspire, a TV talk show where we look into the lives of unique individuals that have overcome adversities, any trials, tribulations, and they keep on pushing to live out their aspirations, hopes, and dreams. And today, we have a very special guest, Boston underground hip-hop artist, living legend, Akrobatik.
What up?
Hi, Akrobatik.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming here today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited.
Me too.
And this is my first time hosting this show. I was on as a guest.
Yep.
So it's my first time hosting, and I wanted you as my first guest. And are you ready to hear why?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
In a roundabout way, in my head, I feel like you are responsible for my career.
Oh, all right.
And let me tell you why. My modeling career when I was 23 years old, I was at a local hip hop show, and a local jewelry designer picked me out of the crowd, and that's where my modeling career started.
Okay.
And then, you know, everything that happened thereafter, I got signed with an agency, and now I'm sitting here hosting a TV show. And I feel like anytime you ask somebody in Boston that is an underground hip hop fan, they ask, who are your all-time top five Boston hip hop artists? You're in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've inspired a lot of artists coming up, and so if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be those shows for me to be at.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I'm glad. I can't take all the credit though, because it's definitely, there was a whole movement of underground MCs in Boston responsible for all those shows happening and all, you know, having them be so exciting. But it's cool to be mentioned in that group. You know, the top five in the city is it's a nice distinction.
Yep. So I am blaming you for creating this monster.
My bad, y'all.
So okay, so before we get into, you know, what you're doing now and all of that, tell me, what was it like growing up for you?
Growing up was fun. I had I like to think of it like I had the best of both worlds. You know, it's like I went to private school. You know, I was able to get an education that was beyond what you know, probably what my mom thought was going to be available for me so early in my life, and that was a cool thing. But then I still had my connection to my neighborhood, and I think that the way my neighborhood was set up when I was growing up, everyone in the neighborhood knew each other, so it was like the village was raising the child. You know, if I was too far down the street when the street lights went off, you know, my mom started
someone knew where you were.
There's like an assembly line pushing me back to within my mom's.
It's time to go
voice.
home now.
Exactly. So, you know, that was a fun part. And then I just, you know, I had music. I fell in love with music at an early age, you know, so that was always a big part of it for me.
Right. So at what point, you know, when you got introduced to music at a young age, at what point did you decide that, hey, I'm going to try this? And at what point did you decide, like, realize, hey, wait a minute, I might be really good at this?
Yeah. Well, it started off really early as far as me saying, you know, I want to rap. I want to be someone who writes lyrics and stuff like that. I mean, I'll go back to as early as like 9 years old, 10 years old. You know, that was something that I was into. I started off like copying rhymes from the MCs that I heard on mixtapes and stuff like that. Like the older kids would give me tapes with like, they would tape the radio show. Cassettes. I know most people don't know what those are.
I know, but we have to.
You know what I mean? But every once in a while I'd take my pencil and rewind something. But yeah, those tapes, you know, they were like mostly recordings of like the college radio shows from like Emerson College and you know, the different MIT and all the Harvard, all the different colleges had hip hop shows, and the older kids would tape them, and this one kid in particular that lived across the street from me would come by a lot and give me the new show. And then eventually I got old enough where I was able to stay up late enough to listen to the shows myself and tape them myself. And you know, just at a real early age, I just started writing rhymes. But I was just doing it for fun. I never really thought of it as like, this is what I want to do with my life until I was a teenager.
And then at what point did you realize that, like, you had you had a legitimate talent? Was anybody there? Did you have any sort of mentors or anybody that put the bug in your ear, like, hey, you should do this or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Boston hip hop is rich in its history, you know, so when I was one of the younger kids coming up, there were older guys who were already in the studios, you know, guys like Disco P and, you know, Ed O.G. and those guys. Some of those guys really early on brought me into the studios and like allowed me to record my little songs. Like they'd give me their last little half an hour at the end of their recording sessions and stuff like that. You know,
You must have been like a kid in the candy shop.
Yeah, I was like a little gym rat.
Were you like Uncle Ed O.G. type of deal?
Yeah. Well, with Ed, that type of thing came much later. You know, Ed was just one of the guys that was around that, you know, remembered me as a younger guy. Like my first time I met Ed O.G. was at a Boston Music Awards after party, and I was a kid. Like I don't even know how I got in because I probably wasn't old enough. But I just remember seeing Ed O.G. and being like, yo, that's Ed O.G. And he just had the new hot video. And I didn't know what to say to him, and he walks by, and I'm like, yo, Edo, when's your new album come out? And he just looks at me, and he goes, summer. And he just keeps walking.
That's too funny.
You know, now he's like one of my best friends, so it's kind of cool to
That's nice.
see that evolve.
At what point did you start actually making albums and selling them? And what is your experience with that?
My first album came out in 2003 on Coup d'etat Records.
So you're on your 10th year right now. You're at a milestone.
My 10th official, yeah, 15 more before I can be nominated
Congratulations, by the
Rock and
way.
Roll Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. You know, I wish that I had a few more albums in that span, but I think that the next 10 is going to be the time where I really get a little bit more prolific and put more stuff out, you know.
Because you don't plan on going anywhere.
No, not at all, not at all.
You're built to last.
Built to last, and 2003 was the Balance album, you know, that did real well for me. It had the single on there called Remind My Soul, which is a lot of people's favorite song by me. And you know, it was a really good experience because I got to meet so many incredible people and build a lot of relationships that I still have now in the business.
Right. So you've traveled all over. Where is your favorite place to perform, and just what does it feel like being on stage for you? And can you just give us an inside scoop of what it's like to perform and where you love to perform?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it really depends sometimes because, like, depending on what time of the year it is and what's going on and, you know, those types of things. I have places that have a lot of, like, sentimental value to me, places where I've had amazing shows. And then there's been other places where like you might just go there. Like for instance, I went to Denmark one time and there was this festival out there and it was just amazing. It was like 90,000 people. And I was with my group, The Perceptionists, with Mr. Liff and Fax One at the time. And we were in there performing in a tent for like 2,000 or 3,000 people. We did our show, it was great, we had a fun time. And then after that was over, we watched Snoop perform on the main stage, opening up for Ozzy Osbourne. You know,
and were you like, pinch me, am I dreaming?
Yeah,
am I really here?
Definitely one of those types of moments, and it gave you that feeling of like really being alive and really being part of what's going on with the world. Because, you know, you do your shows in like the little clubs and stuff like that. Those are great because it's hip hop, it's that vibe you want, you know, the dark, smoky venue and all that stuff, and I'll always love that. But then to just be out in open air, representing hip hop as part of a bigger world thing, global thing, that felt cool too, you know what I mean? Because you just got people that are there to just see whatever's good. They just know everybody on every stage is talented and they want to see it.
Yep. So a lot of the younger generation obviously look up to you. Who do you look up to for inspiration for your music and all of that, and the way that you would pave your career?
Well, the guys that really influenced me from the beginning part of just my interest in hip hop, they laid down a pretty significant foundation for just kind of like a blueprint of how to approach creative writing and approach the music part of it and approach the business part of it too. So guys like KRS-One and Chuck D and A Tribe Called Quest and, you know, DJ Premier and Guru.
Nice.
These are all the types of guys that I always looked up to and still do. You know what I mean? These are guys that now are mentors in a way, you know, and people I can reach out to talk to about the business. You know, guys like Black Thought, also Talib Kweli. These are, you know, some of those guys are a little bit younger and they're more my contemporaries, I guess. But even still, I admire how they
I just
do
saw
their thing.
Talib Kweli perform at the Garden. He opened up for Macklemore. Yeah, that was a really good show.
I bet.
So you mentioned creative writing, and so I do want to make a point of your music to me is very different. It is in fact creative writing. So what exactly inspires you for a song? And you know what I mean? Because when I listen to your music, it's like you have to put on your thinking cap.
Yeah.
So, like, seriously, it's like, wait, hold on a second, rewind. Can I hear, what did you just say?
Yeah.
And I really admire that a lot. And so, seriously, like, what goes into the creative process, and where do you get your inspiration for your music?
I think that first and foremost is the sound. You know what I mean? There's a lot of talented producers out there, and I try to make sure that I check in with as many of them as I can as frequently as possible to just try to get the most provocative sounds out of them to influence me to write songs. Because really, the beat kind of creates the mood, and then the mood will kind of dictate what the substance is going to be and what the content is going to be. You know what I mean? So I feel like whatever's in your brain, the whole universe is in your brain, your whole imagination is in there. So, you know, you can just grab whatever you want out of there. You just need something to be a catalyst for that. And so, you know, a beat that sounds sad and gloomy, you know what I mean, is gonna influence me to write about something in my mind that
you're
is sad and gloomy.
not fond of.
Exactly. So really, just whatever beats I come across this year or whatever beats I come across this month, that, you know, those are the things
that will trigger and invoke certain thought processes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's almost no song I could think of that I've ever released where I wrote the lyrics before I made the beat or before I got a beat from someone.
Before you heard it, and that influenced it. So do you feel a lot of it is current events? Do you feel it's your opinions on certain topics in this world? Or where do you feel the majority of your music is stemmed from?
I think that the majority of the music just kind of stems from my own experience just as a person. You know what I mean? I think that is... my experience is unique and kind of quirky, and sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's really intense and aggressive, you know what I mean? It just depends. I just try to give as much of myself as I can to my music. I'm never just one thing, so I wouldn't want to try to portray that, you know?
Right.
There are definitely a lot of artists who go to extreme lengths to try to let you know what they are.
Right.
And I just feel like if I just kind of show you everything that I am, then you can gather for yourself.
Right. And that's so interesting that you say that, like, you can only speak from what you know, and then everybody loves that. Last night was my first experience hosting a radio show, and I noticed that a lot of the times I was telling my life stories, and I was like, wow, because I've had a lot of experiences in life, I was able to talk on so many various topics, and it makes you more interesting as an individual, and it makes people want to hear what's coming up next.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Wouldn't you agree?
I agree 100%, and I also think that people are inspired by hearing people's stories about how they responded to adversity, you know what I mean? And I know that that's what this show is about, and that's a big part of why I'm here, and you know, that is one of the things that music gives, like the opportunity to say, you know, what your way of doing it was. You know, that goes back to Frank Sinatra.
Right.
You know, did it my way.
And yeah, so actually, speaking of adversity, I'm glad you brought that up, because as you know, I am a Boston hip hop fan, and a few years back, I was actually at it was a fundraiser for MC Expedition, and we were at a venue called Church, and you were performing. And as I recall, that was your first performance in how long?
Probably about 6 or 7 months, I think.
And so you took time out. Did you have a heart attack?
No, I didn't have a heart attack. I had an aneurysm in my aorta. So, you know, in layman's terms, the largest blood vessel that comes from the heart it had a rupture that was caused by like my blood pressure was just extremely high for a long time, and so eventually the walls of my aorta gave way and tore open.
Oh my gosh!
Started to leak throughout my body.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was crazy.
So were you were out of, like, completely out of commission?
Well, for a few days, you know. You know, I was about 240 pounds on Thursday, and when I woke up, it was Saturday, and I was 205 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know?
And so in that span of like 6 or 7 months, not performing, were you making music, or how did you cope with healing?
I did a little bit of writing. You know, I just spent a lot of time with loved ones, and just, you know, I have a really good support system.
Yeah.
People were checking on me to the point where I almost started to get annoyed by it.
You're like, all right, I'm okay, leave me alone now.
All right, Mom, go home.
I don't need another fruit basket.
Right. Yeah, but you know, there was a lot of concern and a lot of support. Like I said, you know, even the Boston hip hop community themselves, like they threw a big benefit show for me, actually, that was able to raise a good amount of money to help me get through my recovery.
Wow.
So, you know, that was a beautiful thing. There were a lot of beautiful gestures made in my way.
Right. And so that benefit for MC Expedition at church, and that was your first time performing, and here you are performing to raise money for somebody else. How did it feel for you to, in essence, you know, sort of pay it forward?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would just say that, you know, everybody in Boston misses Expo.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
it was a sad story.
Yeah, it was, and you know, I got an opportunity to talk to him and just talk to him a little bit about what he was going through, and you know, obviously
Did you sort of identify, not in, I mean, obviously not on the same level, but at some, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did. You know, before we die, you know, you don't really know how many times you're gonna get, you know, you're gonna have to come face to